Good morning everyone, and welcome back to the Runpreneur vlog, where we discuss all things entrepreneurship and running. It is a cold morning. It's like 1 to 2 degrees I think today. Misty as well, so it's moist in the air. Gets into your clothes and your body, it gets really cold pretty quick. But no wind, so I can't complain too much. And it's Sunday run day today, where we discuss all things running. And today I'm going to talk to you about my first year as a barefoot runner. So as always, if you like this episode, please give it a like and a subscribe, and let's get started. So, barefoot running. Where do I start? So this all kind of, my journey in barefoot running all kind of came about a bit of a silly kind of idea that was created at the pub back when we weren't in lockdown. I think it would have been at some point in 2019, I believe, and we were talking about fundraising for Fab Kids, which is a charity I've supported, which help and support disabled and vulnerable children around the world. So it's a cool charity. Get past this, somebody taking me out, and yeah, it was one of those where how can we raise more money? And then the idea of applying for a Guinness World Record came up, and I thought, yeah, I'll have a go at that as a marathon runner. So a few weeks later, I'd explored all the different marathon running kind of world records I could go for, and then this one that I was looking for something that would be quite cool to do, but also not like ridiculous, like running with a washing machine on your back or anything like that. And I looked and I found, run as a ninja. Well, if I just put a full kind of body skin suit on and like a balaclava, I thought I'd be good to go. And then, and also sillily thought that I'd be able to just use normal running footwear, as in running trainers. And then the small print came through after my application had been accepted some weeks later. And it was stipulated that I had to wear all this proper authentic attire and split toe barefoot footwear, which was brutal. I'm just going past Roy here, so Roy, give us a wave.
Hey, all right.
He runs like Phoebe Buffet. He can't hear you, but there you go. Yeah, it came through with a lot more kind of restrictions on this outfit than I thought. So whereas 99% of outfits when you're running a marathon in fancy dress, you are allowed to wear traditional running footwear, but I picked one of them that you couldn't. So that just kind of made the whole event far more challenging, and I didn't realise how challenging it would be. I thought, okay, right, so what are the issues here? Well, I'll just get some barefoot running footwear, I'll speak to a few people, I'll do a bit of research, and as always, you do the research, and the guidance is that take it extremely slow, and it can take 12 months to transition into a barefoot runner. Now, I think I only had, I can't remember what happened, I think it was, I was doing it for the original London Marathon, and I think I had about 6 months to kind of train, to before the actual London Marathon in 2020 was going to happen. But then obviously lockdown happened, which pushed it back to October. But so I thought, okay, I can do this. And the problem you have with barefoot running is you think it's the same sport as running, and yes, you are running. Yes, you use a lot of the same motions and movements and breathing rhythm, but one of the biggest differences is the impact it has on your calves, your Achilles, and the soles of your feet. And a lot of people don't realise that. In a traditional pair of running footwear, you have probably 3 centimetres of heel support, which basically elevates your heel 3 centimetres off the ground. So you're almost like slightly, you look at running blocks when you start a race, you're pushed forward. That's what heel support's doing, it's pushing you forward, and it's cushioning the heel bounce. So as a result, your calf muscle isn't stretching to its full capacity. And normal footwear is the same. You get kind of 3 centimetres of heel support, which means that maybe 2 to 3 in some more kind of, less supportive footwear, but still, that's still 2 to 3 centimetres that your calf muscle is not stretching at, or expanding to. So the difference is when you come across to barefoot running, your calf, which has been conditioned to only stretch a certain distance when you walk or when you run, is now learning that, oh wow, I can stretch an extra 2 to 3 centimetres here. And the downside of that is that your calf's not strong enough. And if you don't do it really, really slowly and build your calf muscle up to be able to handle that, you get calf muscle tears. And in a year of barefoot running, I've had 6 calf muscle tears. So it just goes to show. The other issue is if you're going to be a barefoot runner, it would almost be better starting without having any form of running experience. But most barefoot runners will have been normal runners in some capacity to begin with, before they then migrate across to barefoot running. The issue is that you get used to a certain pace, you get used to a certain level of performance as a runner, and then you instantly think, I can do the same barefoot. But you can't. It's like going back to an absolute beginner. Okay, so you need to be kind of going out doing 1 mile runs, no more than that. Start like once a week, build up twice a week, 3 times a week, then start building the distance up, doing it that slowly. And you have to do a lot of calf strengthening activities as well to try and build the strength up. They say that if you cannot put yourself on it's a bit muddy down here, but they say if you cannot, as a starting point, put your toes on a step on your stairs, for example, and do full calf elevation, so where you're dropping your heels below the level of the step and expanding up as high as you can. If you can't do 40 of those in a row comfortably, I mean not like wincing towards the end, if you can't do them comfortably, you're not ready to start barefoot running. That just shows how. And I remember doing it for the first time thinking, okay, I got through it, but I was thinking, I'm feeling it a little bit towards the end. This just hurts a little bit. And that was a perfect scenario where I should have thought, right, I need to do more of these activities, strengthen my calves before I jump into this. So that's the first thing. The transitional phase takes a year. I started in December. I started doing this in December the 1st, 2019. I had 4 months before London Marathon was supposed to happen in April. I wouldn't have made it. I don't think there's any way. I had so many calf tears, so many knockbacks. I just would not have made that time frame. So it's really muddy here. Just trying to get round. We all know how little I like the mud. So just trying to get past this and back onto. There we go. And so yeah, it was a godsend that London Marathon was put back or delayed. Well, it wasn't a godsend because nobody wished COVID on anybody, but it happened and it knocked it back. And from my experience in the transition into a barefoot runner, it couldn't have happened at a better time, which gave me the opportunity to train up. I remember doing a half marathon at the end of in March, so I'd been doing it for 4 months, and I kind of got round it, and it was I remember it being an amazing achievement to feel I got in a half marathon barefoot running. But the time I limped round in was like 2 hours and 7, and the world record I needed to beat was 4 hours and 17 minutes in this ninja suit, and I had nothing left. The effort that it had taken out of me with the unnatural running form, because it feels unnatural. The other thing is with barefoot running, which I didn't talk about, was you don't realise you're a heel striker until you switch over to barefoot running. Now there are a small proportion of runners, certainly the more elite people, that generally run on the balls of their feet, so their heels will rarely touch the ground. But most people, because they've got this 3 centimetres of heel support, they don't realise it because they're not feeling the impact on heels. You cannot heel strike as a runner in barefoot because it's far too painful. Bang, bang, bang. It's like it bruises the heel really quickly. So you have to very quickly migrate to running on the balls of your feet as opposed to heel striking, which so many people do but don't realise. And I was the same. So you turn into a runner where you turn into running on your forms, on the balls, which is actually the technically correct way to run. And if you go back through human evolution, you need to be able to speak properly, then you'll understand and start realising that, you know, back in the caveman days, they didn't run with footwear, they ran barefoot. And so this is the way we were meant to run. It wasn't that we were supposed to have all this cushioning and padding around our feet. You know, all these advancements now, like Nike 4%, for example, the Vaporflies, etc., where they're giving you such an incline. I mean, running in 4% is the polar opposite of running barefoot. I'm losing heel support. You're getting increased heel support because it's pushing you forward more so that you can spring forward with every step, which gives you an enhancement in performance. So it's, barefoot running is like negative 4%, basically. So you're taking away, until you get to a standard where you can deal with it, you're taking away your performance. And a lot of people don't realise that, and they think they can just pick up where they left off. Okay, they need to transition. But no, it's a different sport, different form, and your muscles will be, you know, all of the hard work and effort you've done in normal footwear, you can almost be put by the wayside. Your general fitness might be good, but your running form or running efficiency fitness in barefoot running is non-existent, so you have to build that up again almost from scratch. So that's some kind of some highlights of what it takes. The next thing to consider, sorry, I'm going this way, is the next thing to consider with barefoot running is the damage it does to your feet. You know, okay, if you read David Goggins, he talks about a calloused mind, about, you know, damages of the past experiences that you can use that's calloused over the course of time. You've got this armour. You know, if you do loads of chin-ups, you get these calluses on your hands. It's the same with running. When you barefoot run long enough, you get these calluses on the sole of your feet, which is like an extra layer of skin, which sounds grim, but I mean, I do look after my feet, so they don't look that bad at all. But you end up having this kind of hardened surface that is a little bit more numbed to the sensation. And a prime example is I can kind of go on beaches now with like pebbled shingle, and not, I wouldn't say I can run across it, but I can walk across it significantly easier than the rest of my family do, or other people, because I've got this hardened form on the soles of my feet. And that's quite cool, having that, as long as it doesn't look manky. Now, with barefoot running footwear, your shoe size might go down a size, because when you buy barefoot running, it needs to be like a glove. So normally you buy normal traditional footwear, you have like a thumb's distance between your big toe and the end to allow for movement so you don't crush your feet. Well, barefoot running footwear, as you can see from my running, and I've got my 5 toes spread out, your feet are spread out. So it's important that you get footwear that fits like a glove. So you might have to drop down a size or even a half a size when you get in footwear. So do check on this before you just order a pair of barefoot footwear, if you're going to do that, because you need to get the right fit. Otherwise, the same with everything, you'll end up, it will hinder your performance, or you'll start getting blisters and issues. That's the good thing about running barefoot. You know, I used to do marathons, I used to get blisters, ultras, get blisters in normal footwear. Never had a blister since running barefoot, which is amazing. Well, I'll tell a lie, there was one period of time where I had some cheap socks I was wearing, and they slipped down, and the back of the shoe or the footwear was rubbing against my Achilles, and it tore the skin off a little bit. So that's the worst that's happened. But decent, if you run barefoot or with decent socks, that doesn't happen. So my next piece of advice will be to run in socks. It just gives you that extra layer of protection, and also it's more hygienic. I mean, I know people that run barefoot, completely barefoot, in their running footwear, and their footwear is disgusting and their feet are disgusting. Just having a pair of sports socks, toe socks, makes all the difference, and it protects your feet. You still get the same sensation, the same feeling, but your footwear doesn't smell as bad. And you also get just enough protection to avoid, you know, the super grimness occurring on your feet. And you know, I use Injinji I think it's INJINJI. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, shape or form, but they are by far the best running socks with toe running socks I've experienced. And I run in Vibram, which are in my opinion by far the best barefoot running footwear. So I run in Vibram V Run. I have 3 pairs of them that I rotate. But yeah, I mean, I've tried Vibram socks and they're just terrible, but the actual footwear are really, really good. But the Injinji socks are superb, so that's the combination that I go for. And bear in mind, I'm doing this every day, so it gets plenty of wear and tear to kind of test the performances accordingly. So yeah, so if I go back to my year, right, I started off slow as I was told, as I'd learnt for the first month or so, and it went well. So very quickly I got overconfident and pushed it a little bit too far hard by doing some speed work. And that's the other thing. Speed, absolute no-no. When you're running barefoot to begin with, okay, your calves are struggling at a slow pace. Now you try and do speed work, you're putting far more strain and pressure on your calves, even the same distances, you're putting far more pressure on your calves and they will go quicker. So after about a month, I went back to my running club in barefoot and tried to try and do some speed work on short distances. Big mistake. Calf tear. Gone. And that was, I think, the first of 6. And the problem is with it, when you get a calf tear, if you don't let it heal fully, it will go again and again and again. It's a weakened area. So if you do get anything and you're able to, sports massages are really good to aid the healing. I mean, I'm now into a stage where my calves have fully recovered. I still get the odd twinge now, but all I do now, because I'm running every day, is I just run through the twinges, but I run really slow, and it just keeps the blood flowing, and it heals up quicker. But I know my body now. I know my barefoot running body, whereas I didn't before. So really important to understand that. So the next point is understand your body and listen to it for signs. It's telling you things, and if you're too stubborn, too competitive to listen to them, then it will catch you out, as it did with me on numerous occasions. So after I've been doing it a while, I just kept taking 1 step forward, then 2 steps back, and it was like this for the first kind of 3 months. I think the 3-month milestone was key, because once I got past 3 months, I had a month of just training without any injury, which allowed me to compete in the Cambridge Half Marathon, which, as I explained, was pretty brutal, but it was that was a real, a confidence booster. Doing a half marathon in barefoot was a big milestone. And then I was then on the build up to London, you see, but lockdown happened, so London was pushed back, but I was still pushing in the miles, and I then had a calf tear again, so I wouldn't have made London Marathon start line had it have occurred at the real time, because again I was pushing it too hard. Difference between a half marathon and a full marathon is obviously double, but training wise and fitness wise, I'd say it's significantly more than that. And so again, I pushed myself too hard, and as a result, more calf tears. So that was taking me into summer. So I had another 3 months really of calf tears. So I probably had 3 calf tears in the first 3 months, and I think I had 3 in the second 3 months. No, maybe 2 in the second 3 months, and then 1 in autumn, and I think that's the last of it. So I said like 3 in summer. I didn't get 1 in autumn because I was building up to marathon day in autumn, and I had a relatively pain-free build up to the official London Marathon. But summer, yeah, I was pushing it too hard and had, again, 3 calf tears. So 6 calf tears near an average of 1 every 2 months. Not ideal, and wouldn't wish that upon anybody. And calf tears, the damage it does psychologically as well, because you have no confidence in your calf muscles, managing to take the strain. And confidence comes with time and training where you haven't had any more injuries. So every time you get one of these injuries, it's just a knock in your confidence. So yeah, I've given you my detailed journey, and then ultimately I did the London Marathon in the near virtual London Marathon in my world record ninja run, I managed to do it in 3 hours 55, which I was super stoked about. I wanted sub 4, but I said, you know what, sub 4 hours 17 would be good enough because that was the world record. And yeah, I felt quite comfortable as well, which was really good. And it was horrible conditions, so I managed to get myself into the right shape, but it did take, you know, when I started in the 1st of December, and the marathon was, I think, 4th of October. So it took me 10 months to get there, and I did it with a bit of relentless focus. Whereas if you do it more softly, you should try and aim to make the transition in a year. I think once you get past the year barrier, your calves are pretty well conditioned, and you haven't had, you know, we want to have a good 6 months without injury. And if you've been running barefoot for a year, it's safe to say you're pretty well converted. So if I was summarising, understand it's a different sport, and understand the impact on your calves, Achilles, soles of your feet. The transition has to be super slow. I mean, some people do it by continuing up their mileage in their normal footwear, and they just do the last mile barefoot or the first mile, and then change footwear halfway through. That's absolutely fine, but if you want to keep your mileage up. But if you try and go, oh, you know what, I'll just do a 4 miler in barefoot, you'll get caught out. So the transition, and there's lots of plans online to help you with this, but they're all the same, you know, 1 mile to begin with, then 1 mile a few times a week, then 2 miles a few times a week, then 3 miles, and you do it really slowly. You know, you're talking week by week, and you know, sometimes even slow that, you might stay at a distance and just up the frequency as opposed to just straight up increasing the distance. So the transitional phase needs to be really careful. My final piece of advice would be get some decent running socks to go with your barefoot running footwear. They're a lot more hygienic, and they just give you that little extra bit of protection to stop your feet getting, you know, seriously elephant man style. So that's what I would certainly recommend. So that's pretty much it today. As always, hopefully this is useful. If you've got any questions on this stuff, just drop me a comment. I'll respond to everyone. If it's a bigger topic, I'll do a separate vlog episode and tag you in. If this is irrelevant to you, no drama, just unfollow me and stop cluttering up your feeds. But do check out the link in my bio, which will take you to my YouTube channel, soon to be released podcast and blog. So whether you want to watch this information or listen to it or read it, you can in all different formats. So hopefully that's useful. And check out the free resources there as well, which I'll be starting to add over the coming weeks and months, which will hopefully be useful for you. So that's it from me. All that's left to say is that the Runpreneur vlog was set up to help entrepreneurs and business owners overcome the emotions of stress, overwhelm and anxiety by using exercise, or in my case running, as a release valve to relieve those daily, weekly pressures in the form of stress, so that you can process them, keep things in perspective, gain clarity and move on. I think without that release, the stress will build up and turn into overwhelm, and before you know, overwhelm can evolve into anxiety and panic attacks, mental health issues, which we really need to avoid. And I've been there. I've lost multiple businesses because of my inability to process these emotions. I've lost multiple business partners, and I've almost nearly been bankrupt because of it. So it's a really dark place. I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. And it's no coincidence that since I've been vlogging every day for the past 8 or 9 months, I've made more progress than I have in the previous 4 years. So it's pretty good social proof that this stuff really works. So my pledge to you is that if you are someone who's struggling with this, drop me a message, okay? There's no catch here, okay? I'm not selling you anything. I'll jump on a quick call and I'll talk you through some of the things that have made a massive difference to my life, and we'll try and put a plan in place that was transferable to your life, and just get you back on that right path. Because I always said that if this vlog just saves one entrepreneur or one business, it's been 1,000,000% worthwhile. So don't struggle with entrepreneurial pride. Help is there and it's free if you're just prepared to ask for it. So on that basis, all I have to say is that if you like this episode, give it a like, a comment and a subscribe. If you want to see similar content, please check out the playlists, section of my YouTube channel where everything's catalogued nice and neatly by topic. And all that's left to say is always, stay positive, stay happy, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.